Thanks, Lydia. The Bison welcomed Montana State to the Fargo Dome this past weekend for the second round FCS matchup. With a win, it would mark the 8th consecutive season that the Bison were in the FCS quarterfinals. Early on, the Bison were hit with Bobcats hit the Bison with a 71-yard pass, but the Bison defense held firm and only gave up a field goal. After trailing early on 3-0, the Bison scored 38 unanswered points and took a 38-3 lead into the half. The Bison were able to rack up 411 yards on the ground and won 52-10. They will now face A-seeded Colgate, who head coach Chris Kleiman says is a great defensive team.
Really impressed with those guys defensively in the fact of they're a bunch of older guys for starters. You know, they're a veteran team on defense. They get off blocks. They great in block destruction. They don't stay blocked. They understand their fits, and I think they're an excellent tackling team.
Thanks, Lydia. We just heard from head coach Chris Kleiman back here live at Herdin' Horns, and now I have my special guest, Ross Uglem of Bison Report, Bison Illustrated, and kind of whatever he does best. Ross, what do you make of this Colgate defense? I know they play in the Patriot League, 5 shutouts. It's incredible, but they haven't really played a team like the Bison.
No, and that's kind of, I think, where the struggle is with evaluating Colgate is you have such a weak schedule, but you have such ridiculous numbers as far as points allowed. I think a 2 passing touchdown against 15 interceptions for ratio. There are numbers for Colgate's defense that are frankly just absurd. So what you have to go do then obviously is evaluate, strength of schedule and really try your best to get a grip on, are these guys good? Are these guys just playing poor competition? So
they just turned over James Madison 5 times last week, won on a game, last second field goal. They also played Army pretty tough, 21-14, so that defense is real. But now let's turn our head to the Bison offense, and they've played stiffer defenses than this. They've played probably the best defenses in the country. So what is this offense going to have to do to get it rolling against Colgate?
Well, I think one thing that you definitely see, I think Stick had like 12 pass attempts last week. Of course, the week prior to that was a week off. They probably need to get the pass game going a little bit, try and throw the ball. They had a young man by the name of Desmond Kane leave the team this week, so breaking in some new receivers. And so you're probably going to see them want to get the passing game going, get the young receivers involved. They're going to run the ball. It's North Dakota State football. They're going to run the football. But there is, I think, going to be a little bit of an emphasis on at least making sure that the pass game is ready, if they need it, and not necessarily going to be down the next week or even in the championship game, but they might and likely will get into a competitive game, where it's within a score or maybe, 10 or something like that, where they're not just going to be able to run the ball and run out the clock.
So, Stick, is he going to be able to get it going this week? I know we've seen him have magical games last year, 11-12 against South Dakota at the Dome. Sam Houston State, that offense kind of lit them up. What does he have to do? And is he kind of the X factor of this game?
Yeah, I think he might have to brandish the run a little bit. They've protected him, kept some of those hits off him. There haven't been as many designed runs for the quarterback. But just because, they lost one receiver, they still have Darius Shepard. That's very obviously the number one target. The tight ends are all healthy and could certainly be a part of things, but number one always is going to be running the football. And yeah, that might involve Easton a little bit, more this week than maybe weeks past, but for sure you're going to see Lance, Bruce, Ty, and actually they're going to get Seth Wilson back now. He can play for the rest of the playoffs without burning a red shirt.
And that's huge for them, getting him back, play him on special teams or play him kind of wherever they want. But getting those young receivers, Ben Ellison, as you call him, Baby Gronk,
yep.
How key is he going to be in this matchup?
Well, it just depends on what they kind of put in the game plan. This is what you would call an uncommon opponent. They've never played Colgate before, just as they hadn't played Montana State since 2010 in the playoffs. So this is an uncommon opponent. They are going to have to figure out what works in this game. And if that's the tight ends, great. If it's the receivers, great. They're going to have to figure out where the weaknesses are in this Colgate defense. Of course, some of that's going to come from the preparation, but adjustments are made by both sides. Colgate's going to come in with a defensive game plan tailored to what NDSU does well, just the same as the other way around.
And quickly before I let you go, what do you think the final score is this coming weekend, and who do they face? Who could they potentially face in the semifinals next week?
Well, next week would be the winner of Kennesaw State and South Dakota State. I think South Dakota State's about a touchdown favorite. The one thing to look for there, though, is Kennesaw's a triple option team. They're going to run the football. There's a 100% chance of rain at that game, and there is also a kind of a low temperature. You would think that would benefit the team from South Dakota, not the team from the South, which where Kennesaw is. But that's a high-flying offense. It always has been. I think there's a chance Kennesaw keeps the ball on the ground and maybe wins a field goal game, but we'll see. As far as my prediction, that defense is impressive, but they still gave up 20 points to James Madison, and they gave up 20 points to James Madison even though they turned them over 5 times. I'm not saying that the defense is fake or that the defense is a mirage, but ultimately, if you're going to give up 20 points to James Madison, you're probably not going to keep NDSU out of the 30s, and I don't see a way that this Colgate offense gets into the 20s. So 38-13, somewhere in there is my prediction. I don't see a way that Colgate can keep up with the Bison pace.
Well, he is Ross Uglem of Bison Illustrated Bison Report. He appears on Bison 1660 Pack-A-Day podcast. We'd like to thank you for your time and coming in. We got it once again live here at Herd and Horns. Eric Bennett reporting for Bison Information Network. Back to you guys at the desk.